So the 11th Street Bridge Park is a project of building bridges across the river THEARC, working with the city to transform an old freeway bridge into a new park that physically connects two otherwise divided parts of the city. Capitol Hill and Navy Yard on one side of the river, and historic Anacostia and Fair Lawn on the other.
So the experience was great, and I also love to paint, so I was in and out, painting a little bit, observing, and we also had the artists stay with us for the 2-week period, so we would hear the details every evening about what the kids were doing, what the kids were saying. But yes, I was in probably 4 out of 5 days each week.
We've got 4 key goals for the 11th Street Bridge Park. One is improve public health, provide a safe place for active recreation. 2 is re-engage residents with the amazing natural resource of the Anacostia River, for too long has been hiding in plain sight. 3 is the river's also been a dividing line for generations, so how do we create a physical and metaphorical bridge stitching together the city? And 4, how do we provide an anchor for economic opportunity? If 800,000 to 1.2 million visitors a year visit the bridge park, and that's what we estimate conservatively, that's going to be a lot of people walking and biking past now empty storefronts, and particularly on both sides of the river, but particularly east of the river, and that means jobs and economic opportunity.
Well, my experience was very unique because I got to work with the ArtReach that I've been going to for 8 years now, and this was my first time actually being one of the people working with them, and it was really cool because I got to work with a bunch of teenagers that really wanted to do a lot in their community, and they wanted to change it, and I was really surprised that they worked as hard as they did on it, because I was kind of thinking when we got the teenagers, I was like, do we know how teenagers work? But then it turned out that they were very hardworking and got this all done very fast.
In the beginning it was really interesting kind of to see the type of the different people that came out. And you kind of, it's interesting, you know how in the beginning you kind of assume kind of things just by looking because you don't want to interact yet because it's but after a while it kind of progressed and you met many different people, and then also our director Max, he was the artist that we were working with. He was just so amazing and kind, and he brought out the fun in everybody, and my experience with it was just amazing, and I'm really hoping to do more projects like this in the future with the people that I worked with, and also new people, and just the ARC in general.
I thought they were unbelievable, and they're working in a small space, and the space was covered with plastic where it would be very easy to trip if you didn't pay attention to where you were, and you had to be sort of on top of each other to paint a mural. And the kids were just great, and they were welcoming, and I think they really respected each other and each other's artwork, and I think it had a lot of meaning for them.
Probably when we started brainstorming on all of the issues that everyone had, because everyone had about the same issues, and everybody noticed the same exact things. So it was really easy from that point on to kind of gel everyone together and get everybody to work on this.
The ultimate goal really was very process oriented. So I knew at the end that we would have not just a mural, because I think what Max, being a public artist, creates with the kids is more than just a mural. It ends up being a piece of artwork. But I was really interested in the process of getting these kids to open up, to talk, and to have them feel some ownership of what the project was.
I think the first little spark, you could say, was when conversation started, and we were talking about things that really affected us, and things that we saw every day in our neighborhoods, and the differences that we saw, and the kind of divide that we also saw that nobody really talks about. There's a great divide in DC that everybody knows about, and everybody kind of follows these unsaid rules, but nobody wants to ever talk about them because it's quite uncomfortable. And there are two different sides of DC. When we began talking about that, when we began talking about the problems we see, from all the way from police brutality to racial identification and bullying because of maybe, I don't know, just simple things. and we started to see that a lot of us had a lot of things in common that we never thought we would have in common, and a lot of us were thinking about this more in depth. Like, you think you're going like crazy in your own mind, and you're having all of these thoughts, and it's really like killing you internally, or you're like getting such like a rage about it, but you have to put it down because it's not socially correct. And then you talk to your peers that are from a completely different part of DC and have a completely different life than you. And you find that they're feeling the same thing, so it cannot only be you. And I think that really sparked kind of us starting to actually talk to each other, not only about these problems, but about our lives. And then it went on a more personal note, and we actually started like getting to know people, and we started making friends, and it was amazing.
The process over the last 2 weeks was really phenomenal, but now gets to be the really fun part. Where the mural is on view here, the ArtReach at THEARC for the next month. It will then travel to the other side of the river, which is appropriate, to the Ronald Reagan Convention Center. It will then travel it has 3 venues in the next 6 months, to the DC Commission on Arts and Humanities, and finally it will be on view on the 11th Street Bridge Park when the bridge park opens to the public.